and
right.
introduce yourself.
Right.
Okay, we're up.
You're up.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right. Well, nice to see you all again. I'm Katie Burkholm. I'm the Regional Administrator for the DEQ Pocatello Regional Office. I've been in this role, I'm coming up on my 3rd year, and so it's been great. So I've got my feet under me now and all that, which it's been a good fit, I believe. And I did want to bring with me Jen Cornell. She's our surface water manager, so I'll let her introduce herself and she'll go through her program. So we just wanted to share that with you. Each time I come, I like to bring one of our managers so you can get faces and names. And our managers are really, really involved with the regulated public. So they're important folks in our world for sure. Before I hand it to Jen, I wanted to bring you all a gift. This is a very nerd gift, but our agency produced this Idaho Environmental Guide for local governments, and so it's in electronic format on our website. It was kind of designed to be an electronic document, but we're kind of analog. We still like a binder with some tabs and all that. And then a lot of our managers put in just some additional resources for you all, that just some fact sheets and brochures and things like that just sort of help. But this is set up to go through each of our programs and basically what does it mean to you in seats such as yours to just really be a resource document for you. I've got 2 hard copies, really one for you all as the county commissioners and one for your planning and zoning, because that's another, obviously we interface with planning and zoning a lot. That's where a lot of the connections are between our 2 organizations. So I'm going to bring that to you. And then also on the inside cover is our main office business card that has our main phone number, our address, and all of that. And if you want more hard copies, then just let me know and we can get you some more if you wanted to each have one or however.
No, if it's available electronically, we can
Okay, great.
do that and then just have one of the offices in
Perfect.
each office.
Yeah. So I did want to bring you that, and then I just intend to come around every spring and just say hello and see if you guys have any general comments or concerns you want to share with me. I don't have anything for your county right now at the top of my list, so I just thought I'd see if you all had something.
And that can be good or bad.
Yeah. Things seem to be going all right.
If it's good, we want to be at the top of the
Yeah.
list. If it's bad, we want to be at the bottom.
Well, I think we're good right now, but
Yeah.
if you don't have anything specific for me that you want to discuss, then I'll let Jen explain what she does in her programs.
All right.
Cool. Yep, Jennifer Cornell. I've worked at DEQ now for 11 years. I took this position about 2 years ago, so also learning, and I think we're getting it together, but then something else new comes along. I have some pages for you all to look at too. Oh,
For you.
and my card. Thanks. So yeah, I surface water manager, and I cover a bunch of programs that you may be familiar with, and some you might not be familiar with that we touch upon or deal with at DEQ in our office. One of the bigger programs is the Idaho Pollution Discharge Elimination System program, which is point sources, monitoring and permitting point sources like the wastewater treatment plant, and we work with the city of Pocatello for their stormwater discharge permit and such like that. And we took that program over in about 2018, and it's still a pretty new program. Even after 5 years, we're still doing a lot of improvements and changes, and it's getting better every time. 401 certifications for stream alterations. If you're doing something in the stream, people have to first get a joint application between the Army Corps and the IDWR, the Department of Water Resources. But as part of that also, if it doesn't fall under a general permit that we've agreed upon with the Army Corps and IDWR, we also give a 401 certification permit cert for those activities. And it's mostly just for best management practices and making sure the water stays clean. Beneficial Use Reconnaissance Program. the counties and a lot of municipalities look at these when they're doing work near streams or in streams. This is where we go out every summer and do assessments on 40 streams. We look at the beneficial uses of that stream, if they're meeting it, like are they supporting fish or spawning, or is the water clean? Is it have a lot of sediment or nutrients? And we compile that information, and it's a part of our reporting to the EPA that we are required to do every 2 years. But it also is a great resource for the public. It has lots of information. That feeds into our total maximum daily load program, which is where we write the loads for each stream, like how much phosphorus can the Snake River hold, or how much can we permit to discharge to the stream or river and still maintain its beneficial uses and make sure it's still clean and people can swim in it and organisms can live in it. We also participate in FERC hydroelectric relicensing or licensing. As part of that licensing or relicensing, we provide a 401 cert for those projects. It's a little different than just the stream alteration program, but it's very similar. And part of that relicensing, we look for input from other stakeholders that are affected by those projects.
So, a question on that one.
Yeah.
Bannock County, is there between Lava and McCammon, there's one little plant there, or is there any other hydro in Bannock?
Trying to think. Not that I can think of, really. There's lots in the Bear River watershed in Bear Lake County. Power County is American Falls.
Caribou.
Of course, Caribou.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a
Yeah.
meeting last week in Boise with Idaho Power, and they have like 17 dams on the Snake, and so
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
as you talk about, we
Yeah.
went and visited the Swan Falls
Oh,
hydro plant and stuff. So I just,
yeah.
Oh, cool.
the only one I could think of in Bannock County was the little one right there by Lava. Or is it a hydro plant?
I don't know. That might just be a diversion.
It might be for
I
the.
don't think it's hydro. I know where you're talking about. There's that structure there.
Yeah.
I
Which
think it might
looked
be
like
the-
an ideal place for a little
I
hydro
know.
to me. If
Well,
they got a
sometimes they're
diversion there.
small.
Very- yeah.
Yeah, that
Something
doesn't
little
get
turbine.
FERC license. Yeah.
Okay.
so-
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So then the 319 program and the Ag BMP program, those are funding sources for folks to get money to improve agricultural their facilities, either by, and this is to like improve the water quality mostly. So we provide monies and pay for improving diversions, changing irrigation practices from like flood irrigation to other more water conservative projects. We provide monies to buy big equipment to like do a no-till projects. We pay for fencing, off-water troughs for the cattle. And this improves not just the water quality, but often improves the pasture availability for water to be there to keep the pastures green. And so that's an improvement for their operations as well.
There's been a lot of that work along the Portland.
Absolutely.
What about Marsh Creek? It doesn't seem like there's as much work along there.
We have done a bunch of projects there. It's been kind of quiet the past few years, but we have done a lot of projects through that area.
Okay.
It has been quiet for the past few years. And also the funding kind of changed and shifted, so, but hopefully we'll have some more next year.
Okay.
And then we do a lot of outreach. My group goes to schools, secondary and primary schools, and give demonstrations and information, but we also go to other events like an environmental fair here at Pocatello. We did that one just this spring, and if people
Battled the weather, huh?
Oh my gosh, it was so cold and rainy.
It was not a nice day.
It was not a good day. But we were right near the band. Our table was right near the bandstand, so we got to see the music. It was right in front of us, so that was nice. And then we answer complaints, we answer public questions about just about everything. Yeah, we hear all sorts of questions and complaints. So. And then I just provided my email, and you have my card as well, and then you have our website there too. And then this is my team, pictures of my team.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So with the subbing and stuff like that, is that concerns right now?
Excuse
mean-
me, the what?
The subbing of the water subbing and stuff around sewer lagoons, and I live in Ingham.
Yeah.
I live in Ingham. I was the mayor
Income's
when we
always a
started talking
challenge.
about the new process and on the city council.
Yeah.
And so the new pond and stuff like that,
Yeah,
all the discharges and how are the cities up and down the port up there? I mean,
Yeah.
McCammon, Lava.
well, so I mean, I'll
Allah,
speak
yeah.
to Income real quick, but because Income's in our wastewater reuse program, so they don't actually discharge into the river. They,
I know.
so
No,
yeah,
now.
yeah. So they have done a lot of work to try to expand their capacity because they've, like a lot of our communities, they've had a lot of growth lately, and then they've had to figure out how to manage that growth, and then their geography is not super favorable. So our wastewater reuse engineer has worked really closely with Mayor Max to try to help work through some of those challenges.
Mayor Max.
Yeah.
Everybody calls him Mayor Max.
Yeah. So I think they've got a good plan, but I know we've talked before about, I know there was a small push for a little while of looking at a regional wastewater line. I think that would still be a great idea. We would still be in support of looking at those kinds of things for these outside communities, and looking that direction. I feel like regionalization really is a wave of the future to try to work cooperatively together as communities, but it's hard. But they've definitely got challenges. Our other communities do pretty well too. Like there are IPDS permits. A lot of the constraints by our wastewater facilities in the Portneuf River are constrained by the TMDL that Jen was talking about for phosphorus in the American Falls Reservoir. And so we have seen, if available, a lot of our facilities are pulling out of the river to use the reuse program instead. But the folks who discharge into the river, like the city of Pocatello, have done a lot of upgrades to their wastewater treatment plant. They're really working hard to meet those requirements for the loading.
They're doing great.
And they're doing great. Yeah, the city of Pocatello does a good job. So,
Well,
but I
honestly,
didn't want to steal your thunder.
Oh, no.
I was just thinking of the reuse program. But
Yeah.
yeah.
after seeing the facility there in Ingham, I'm not sure we wouldn't have been better to go with mechanical.
Mm-hmm.
And then we
Yeah.
would have been able to handle growth better
Yeah.
than what we're doing. I mean,
Yes.
we should have annexed ground into the city of Ingham that
Yes.
should have been on the sewer system instead of putting more septic systems in the
Yep.
ground. That's just plain and simple.
Yeah, and that entire bench up on the hill and all that, I mean, they're all on septics
Yeah.
because they have no alternative. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's unfortunate. We have run into a lot of that on development projects, trying to find the right balance between growth and protecting our groundwater and protecting our people, like our residents' drinking water, because you pack those septic systems in at some point, what's coming up in your well? It's just not good.
So what is
Yeah.
the position for community septic systems?
Yeah, so we're working on that. And Alan spoke to that last year when we came, but it was still very preliminary. And so where that's all going is we have the DEQ we've got some source of money. I think it may have been some of our ARPA money. We were able to hire a contractor to bring in and pull in. They're working on a best management practices guide for folks such as yourselves and planning and zoning. And then additionally, we hired the Idaho Geologic Survey to do a survey of the soil. So what we're hoping to build for you all is a best management practice guide. So folks like your planning and zoning who may not have gone to college to study septic systems, they're doing their public service, and to guide them through how do you evaluate a community, like a development project. And then that's paired with what the IGS is coming up with would be, like, not all soils are the same, not all groundwater is the same, so they're providing some general guidelines for the state to look at what information do we have and what septic densities would be your default for different areas. So based on depth to groundwater, the type of soil, and those kinds of things. So it would give you all a resource to say, 5-acre density here is safe. 1-acre density may be safe in this area, but maybe in this area we need 20-acre lots. And that doesn't mean that's a hard and fast rule. It's a guide to say, if we needed higher density in this area that says it should be 20 acres, we may need to do some actual study on the ground to like really understand, is there a site specific reason, or should we be looking at community systems? So this best management practice guide would go from good, better to best, or maybe not so great to best. And best, of course, is always to connect to a community system like a wastewater treatment facility. Maybe if that's not an option, maybe it's looking at a community system like a community lagoon, a large soil absorption system, something like that for even a subdivision level. The thing I like about that style is that you have all the piping in place, and then if maybe in 10 years or 20 years we can regionalize, you're not digging up people's yards. You have one connection to get them into the wastewater system. And then, maybe after that you're looking at septic systems at a proper density. It's very hard, right? Because the developers, the business model, you can see, like, you don't make good money on 5-acre lots, and there's a demand for housing. Like, not everybody wants a 5-acre lot. You want a half-acre lot, maybe. You don't want to manage all that.
Management of a 5-acre lot.
It's a lot.
We end up with our weed department.
Totally.
Not a lot of analysis.
It's too much for most homeowners to manage. So it's definitely challenging, and that's why we've been focused on, we need to provide like better tools to you all to help with those decisions.
So you guys are moving towards that, then allowing more of that community stuff to go in and.
Yes, because it has been challenging there too, because if you do a large soil absorption system, it triggers a level 2 nitrate priority area study. I'm giving you the wrong terminology, a NP study. And those are super expensive. And so nobody wanted to do them because they're like, I could do this study and it could still tell me no, like it's not okay. And so who wants to invest $100,000 to be told the word no, So that's, we're looking at like, if there's an area that looks likely to have regionalization, how can you do a level 1 study maybe, which is less expensive, but find a way to make that usable information to help move those things along. So yes, this practicality needs to be in this VMP guidance.
So as you look at that, and I've been thinking a lot about the housing crisis and how to solve some of that, and talking with our planning and development about area of city impact and being able to put in these community wells like you're talking about, so that when the area of the city does get out there, we can connect. And so
yeah,
it will require a partnership between
Yes.
you guys, the developer, and us to help put something like that in place so we can create those housing opportunities.
I agree completely. Now the wells, the drinking water piece is a little bit different because
Correct.
IDWR has some of that. So we've been trying to figure that piece out with IDWR, because how can a lot of individuals get one well and not need any permits, but it's near impossible to get a drinking water system well, like a well big enough for 10
And
homes.
there's still a moratorium in some areas on community
In
wells?
some areas there are. I'm
Not
not
in our
sure
area.
where.
I'm not sure.
I don't know the answer to that, to be honest. That is
I
our
thought
another.
up like Jefferson County and up there, they still had some, but I wasn't sure
Yeah.
about our area itself. I kind of looked that up and I couldn't find any.
Yeah, I
effect
don't know
here.
the answer to that one, but that's so on the water side, I feel like that's a big piece we need to tackle.
They're together.
Yeah, it's together, and then the wastewater side is like the side I was more referring to in our wheelhouse. But I completely agree, and I know Alan Johnson, our engineering manager, has been working with your county planning and zoning folks. I think you've had a little bit of turnover as well, and he's been working with some of the folks over there, and I feel like we're at the beginning of some good cooperation. And unfortunately, you know, a lot of the boom's already hit us, you know, but we got to start where we're at, and we got to do what we can do from here forward.
Right.
And I appreciate that moving forward. And because when we put out the notice that we're going to do a subdivision or something and we get a response from DEQ, it's almost like a copy and paste deal. You know,
yeah.
every letter has the same thing in it.
Yeah.
And so you just don't take it as serious. I'm just saying.
Okay.
When it
We have crafted that canned letter. I know it is canned, but we have been working on that language. You've
Okay.
seen an evolution. Even in the last 2 years I've been here, we've been trying to make it a better letter. But it is the same kind of guidance, like
Yeah.
to say it, and that's a mini version of the BMPs, like to say, here's kind of the best
well,
management.
when I read them and I look,
Yeah.
and the only thing that's changed is the name of the subdivision.
Oh,
You know.
yeah.
You know,
Maybe in like the last 6 months, it's been kind of the same letter.
are we
But
looking at
Yeah.
at the actual area?
and
that
they're
we're
really
talking
the
about?
same comments every time, but I mean,
Oh, and we get that from the public also, but I just,
Yeah.
like I say, it just kind of,
well, I would ask you then, what would be more valuable for you? Because
well, just what you just said, and you
Yeah.
talked about the soil of this area, or,
Yeah.
you know, things like that, so that
Yeah,
the planning and zoning board is saying, okay, the DEQ's looked at this,
Yeah.
and this is our recommendation,
yeah,
where the other one is just, well,
The same letter shouldn't apply from North Bannock County to South Bannock County,
yeah.
because the soils are definitely different.
Yeah, and right now we don't have that
Yeah.
information to rely on, but yeah, well, I'm hoping we do, like,
Okay.
in the near future. And they've been at this for 1 full year. I believe the BMP guidance document is almost done. It's going through final reviews, but the IGS piece that was a harder lift, so I think they're only 1 year into a 2-year contract. And but I'll take that feedback back and talk
well,
with
yeah,
Alan
that's
as
just one of the deals,
well.
that, like I say, for myself, when I read through all them
Yeah.
and I see that the only thing that's actually changed on the letter was
Mm-hmm.
the name of the subdivision, or,
Yeah.
I don't take it as serious, I'll just put it that way.
Well, I appreciate the feedback because, yeah, I mean, from our perspective, a lot of those developments, we're dealing with the same issues at every single one.
Right.
Like, how do we don't make those land management decisions. So it's this balance of working together because you are making land management decisions and we're looking at the resources. And so we work with the BLM and the Forest Service in much the same way. They're making land management decisions and it's very dovetailed. And so just having that cooperation, but yeah, we'll take that back. We're trying to improve. We're works in progress and always
Oh,
trying to
you're
get
doing
better
well.
at this because it has been in our region, really, every one of we cover 7 counties and everyone except maybe 1 or 2 have had just like a big jump in population growth. Of course, Bannock County like the most. And
Do you have Bingham County
yes.
and their experience?
Them as well. Yeah,
Growth.
the only 2 I think in the last data I was looking from Department of Labor, I think is Caribou maybe didn't have as much, which I just moved from Caribou County. I just moved up here and I'm like, it felt like a lot of growth. I mean, try to pump gas at Maverick. It's tough. Like it feels very busy there, but their stats don't match that. And then I think it's Oneida maybe didn't quite have the growth, but yeah, but really it's hit everywhere. I mean, it's been wild, but yeah, I do appreciate the feedback. We'll continue.
So
to
you
work
cover
on
7 counties and your staff.
Mhm.
So how thin is it trying to cover 7 counties?
It's thin.
It's kind of thin.
Yeah.
And that's partly why you probably get a letter that has similar language, because basically and I can't remember what is in the reuse or what Alan has put in for that bit, but when you're doing a septic, pretty much we don't know the soil, so we say you got to test. There's no way to say, oh, not yet anyway. That's why it's like you'll have to test the soil for the applicability of that.
And that's the health department.
Well, there's difference there
Yes, I know,
because
yeah.
And then the other deal, and the thing that I've had is, if the landowner brings in an engineer, certified engineer, and has certified that soil, then to start being questioned by other people who are not engineers,
yeah.
and that's happened with the health department more than
Yeah.
here. But I don't understand wait a minute, they paid and got that certified engineer to say this is good.
Yeah.
That's gotta be worth some weight.
Yeah, and so I think you're referring to actual determining if the septic system will work in those soils.
What the soil condition
Yeah,
is.
so that's
yes.
in the health district.
Yes.
They've got an MOU with DEQ to do that.
Oh,
portion
and
of
I've been
that.
there talking
Yeah.
to them too. But
In our group, we're looking at not will the septic system function as designed in those soils. It's looking at the impact to groundwater from the entire subdivision. So, and looking at protecting human health. And I do want to put a plug in. All of our engineers are certified. We just had our last engineer pass the PE. Just this, we're finally fully certified in our group. So
Good.
we're very proud of that. But I would say that I think sometimes we're looking at different slices of the whole pie, and it does get very confusing. I think that's part of the problem is there's a lot of chiefs in the kitchen on this stuff. And
very
it's
much so. And
really
that's
hard.
what's so confusing to the landowner or the
Yes.
developer, is they think they've jumped through all the hoops that they're supposed to.
And one more shows up.
Wait a minute, we just did this, and I just had the engineer here. How come you, I gotta bring him back out now?
That's what I was telling this contractor. I said at the beginning of this BMP guide, you need like a map of responsibilities. Like I want to see the
If it's
matrix.
yes, you go here.
Yes,
No, you go
like
here.
who is in charge of what, and
Get deck out of this.
yeah, you have a little cheat sheet key to help folks because it's very complicated. It's taken me a while in this role to get our role figured out. Even it's just not that clear, and so, but we're I'm getting there, and I'm probably the least important one in the whole shebang. But I just that is what we're working on, is trying to figure out how to better work together to do these things, give you guys valuable information to help you make decisions.
Well, we appreciate it.
It's a tough role. Yeah. So,
I would just say that besides, having saying that the septic is gonna work, is knowing where they're putting it in and how high the groundwater is. We do have nitrate priority areas in Bannock County, as you know, and here in the city. And so.
We have quite a group of citizens that let us know
Let you know.
on a regular basis.
yeah.
And that factors in as well.
Yeah. There's challenges in the geography here too that make the septic systems hard and have caused issues. So, it would be great if we could catch those before they occur and just make good land management decisions that don't cause that problem. Because once it's there, it's so hard to deal with. It just
Our landfill.
yeah.
Too.
I will say you're at your landfill. You guys have a really good contractor working on that project, and they're doing some really good stuff over there.
The last
And
report we had a month or two ago, it was impressive.
it's a big problem, but you've got good people working on it and making headway on the problem. So I think that's really great. If I can get to those meetings, when they do those quarterly meetings, I try to attend when I can. I'm not always able to. I can usually get over there a couple times a year, but because I think it's really good what they're doing. It's nice to be a part of a project like that. So I do, hats off to you all for funding that, because that's been a real problem and you guys have tackled it. So I think that's great.
So I'll just ask for your opinion a little bit. We have a meeting Thursday where we're going to talk to Road and Bridge and Landfill and talk about maybe separating those two departments.
Oh, okay.
Would there be any concern coming from DEQ separating landfill and have a director over that area and then separated from Road and Bridge?
I'm not super familiar with what that would mean, but I can only imagine it being a positive move to have the resources dedicated to the landfill. Solid waste is, as you guys have all experienced, solid waste has become more and more and more important as time has gone by. The nature of our garbage has changed so significantly over the years, and the types of materials that are going into landfills are increasing in concern and complexity, and So what we're seeing a future in our agency is we are seeing more and more emphasis on solid waste facilities because of how garbage has changed over the years. And then I get concerned with you guys have seen the articles about forever chemicals coming down the pipe, and there's a lot of emerging information on that. And when I was speaking with your contractors last meeting I was able to attend, in fact, I think it might have been your superintendent had said something like, are we going to be required to sample for that? And I said, well, I don't think right in the very near term, but I mean, it's coming, like that's all coming. And we're getting our head around it in the state of Idaho. We've been doing a lot of sampling around the state on a voluntary basis to understand, is it a problem in the state of Idaho? Where is it a problem? Understand it for our state. And so we're still grasping that issue, but I will say it's an emerging issue that's going to be a big one. And so I think having that level of emphasis and just importance over your solid waste facility to me sounds like a good thing.
So to follow up on that,
Yeah.
You guys are happy with our gasification plant and
Yes.
the things that we're doing that way?
Yeah, I'm less familiar with the super details. I've been really pleased with the remediation work that's been done.
Okay.
And I think from what I hear, the reports I hear, is that all the inspections seem to go really well at the facility. I moved to Bannock County just this last year. Like, I got tired of the commute, so I've been up to the landfill just personally multiple times, and I'm like, I just go up there and I'm like, everything is organized really well. Everything's very clear. Like, the material handling is very clear. Like, as just a Joe Public, you're going to put your stuff in the right spot. And that's a huge component of it, is just housekeeping and making sure, that the garbage is being placed in the right locations and all that. So, yeah, I think I think your operation is going pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have one more question. I want to go to you, Jen, and ask about, is the Waters of the United States ruling that happened last year, is it put to bed, or is there going to be any more messing around with the definition of that, or have you heard anything about that?
So that is a complicated question
Yes, it
for
is.
Idaho. And so we're still working through that civil case that we signed on to with Texas. So we're actually at the 1986 rule. So before the 2015 rule and all that stuff. So we're operating under that. Although Sackett's and the Maui
The Supreme Court
rulings
case.
we are under those. So that's where we're at in Idaho. As far as I know, until that is resolved for Idaho with the Texas, that's what we'll be operating under, is that 1986 rule, and the Sackett's and the Maui rule.
Okay.
I don't know, other than that, if we have another administrative change in, the federal government, I think it's pretty set. I mean, we.
I guess that was my question. Are you
I was
hearing any
going to say, I
rumblings
don't
of
know that
We
this will ever be
can't-
set.
Yeah, we can't, and
Yeah.
that is a moving target.
Okay.
Definitely moving target. I think it would have to be brought to the Supreme Court, something that would be a final ruling.
Yeah, because they didn't specifically address the ruling, they just, with the Sackett case, it had implications to that,
Yeah.
so that's what rolled everything back, so. Okay.
Yeah. Good question.
I was
It's
just
a very
curious.
good
I've
question.
been watching that one to see if it pops up again, and so I thought, hey,
We,
I've got you here, I'll ask if you hear any scuttlebutt.
I think we get something about that just about every week, because it all affects many of my programs, the TMDL program, the 401 cert program.
Yeah, I was going through your
Absolutely.
list thinking, that's the Waters of the US, that's the Waters
Absolutely,
of
the
the
IFTIs
US.
program, all of that, so we have, tracked that pretty closely and get updates from the state office as well, like, here, this is how we're gonna redo this, or based on the rulings, and so, yeah, it's been interesting.
Could you just give me the really high level, what the Idaho and Texas case is? I can't remember that
Oh,
off the top
sure.
of my head.
When Biden
Change
So,
the rule?
We had the Obama 2015 rule get applied. Then Trump rolled that back
Yep.
to the pre-2015. And then Biden tried to reinstate that, and that brought up a flurry of dissent
Lawsuits.
or lawsuits, and that is basically where the Texas
Okay.
lawsuit came in to reinstate the 2015 rule.
Right. And Idaho jumped in with Texas on that. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
I think
It's a lot.
a different group of states also,
Yeah, because
So we signed
it seemed
on
like
with
there were like
Texas.
16 different ones or something
Yeah.
that jumped in on that, so. Okay. Thank you.
So I got one more question on landfills. And
Yeah.
that's our station down in McCammon.
oh, okay,
And so they've been able to dump, not construction really, but because it's for the public, but not for contractors.
Correct.
okay.
But we've had quite a discussion on that, and we want to close that facility and just use at a dump station where we collect all the stuff and haul it from McCammon to this landfill.
Transfers.
Yeah.
A transfer station.
So you
That's
want to
all.
have is it a transfer station now or
It
no?
i-
It's
it is.
it's partial?
But if they brought like limbs and stuff like that, homeowners, they've been able to dump just out there.
Okay,
But we don't want that to turn into a recovery site either. You know,
Right,
we want to
right.
make sure what's being dumped out there, so we just make it a transfer station 100%. Is there any concerns, any questions?
I'm not at all familiar with that, how that facility is now and totally what you're proposing. I don't think there'd be any concerns on our end. You just have to go through the permitting process. But would you not keep some like non-municipal waste store there, or would you
Well,
would you want to bring it all up here?
That's a concern, is if we
Yeah.
do that,
Yeah, how do you just make sure it
it's,
stays
how do we do
non-municipal?
that? Because like say, it's a transfer station, so we have
Right.
somebody there that watches
Right,
and we don't see what's in the back of everybody's vehicle.
Right.
We don't see what goes back there.
Right.
And then to come
yeah,
and
you
cover
don't
it
want
up.
to come and find a bag full of household garbage in
And,
there.
I
Yeah,
don't know, it's just
yeah,
one of the deals that, as we've had conversations
Yeah.
about it, I have a fear
mm-hmm,
of having to spend more money cleaning up down there, just like we're
Right.
doing here,
right,
and I don't want to
yeah.
have that happen to the citizens of Bannock County.
Well, I think it's a valid concern. You don't want to cross that line, right? Like, if it's non-municipal, there's a word, non-putrescible or something like putrid. If it's got to stay to be that more inert materials. If it can stay that way, then you haven't crossed the line,
Right.
But if you cross the line, then it becomes a municipal, like you have municipal waste in there, and that's when you start having more problems. And so we would just have to look at what you guys are planning, and we could get the people in my group, like Doug, and we've got a gal named Dustin doing all solid waste in our department.
He's a guy, though.
What's that?
He's a guy, though.
He's a guy.
You said gal.
Oh, I didn't mean gal,
Dustin.
sorry.
Mr. Dustin.
Anyhow, we could get those folks together with your folks to just bounce ideas around if you
Okay,
wanted at
well,
some
that's
point.
good. That's
Yeah.
why I just wanted to bring it up while you're doing
Yeah.
this. These are discussions that we're having, and
We're seeing a
That's what I
lot
want.
more transfer station, again, like that regionalization on the solid waste side, that's big. So, that Idaho facility down in, they're gonna actually be in, I think they're gonna land in Caribou County, but they're servicing Caribou, Bear Lake, and
Franklin.
Oneida, or Franklin,
Did
yeah.
that finally get fully
No, Oneida.
approved?
Franklin's not joining, actually.
Oh, they're not now?
Yeah, they've got a county in Wyoming as well. Anyhow, yeah, they're going through all of their permitting, and DEQ, actually, we're supporting the project with like $3 million in ARPA funds to help pay for the liner for groundwater protection.
Oh, good.
And then they've been closing the county landfills to get them to be transfer stations and only take that inert waste from here forward. So,
Bannock County.
Yeah.
transfer station.
Yeah.
Instead of a landfill.
And I'm just saying, like, the move to transfer stations is not unique. Like,
Yeah.
it's becoming a thing because of this. Like, and
It's expensive.
being able to manage all that waste in one spot and do it right is better than having little spots all over the place.
Bingham contracts with us.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's right. I think we've talked with Bingham about their old landfills and transfer stations as well. Anyhow, yeah, I would say on that one, there's no like red flags to that.
Okay.
It's just going through the process to work through the details.
It's a conversation piece of it. I don't think we've ended yet, so.
Yeah. Well, I would encourage you guys to work with our staff to be able to even just bounce ideas off. I hope we can have that level of trust with our communities. That's how I prefer to operate, is like pick up the phone and be like, well, what about this and what's good here and what's there, and hopefully it can help you all make better decisions if we can have some of those conversations up front.
This has been good.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Please feel free to call. I'll come around every spring, but if you ever just have something pop up and you want me to swing by, all you have to do is call.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Anything else, John?
You guys have ARPA funds to dedicate toward putting liners in place?
We received ARPA funds for groundwater protection. A very small portion of our ARPA funds went to groundwater protection. Most of the ARPA funds we got, we facilitated communities for drinking water and wastewater systems. We had a small amount to help with on the remediation side for groundwater protection, and we leveraged that almost entirely for our counties. So we helped counties with landfill issues. We have helped counties with abandoned remediation sites. We had some sites with gas stations old gas stations with releases that had no responsible parties, and it was going to become a burden of the taxpayer to try to do something because it was harming residents, and just these issues that pop up every once in a while that are just impossible to deal with. We were able to actually go do some groundwater cleanup at some of those sites. It was a really small portion of the ARPA funds that DEQ was allocated, but I feel very proud of what we've done with those dollars. We've been able to put it to some good use. And we had, I think Fremont County decided to not utilize some of the money. We had a ranking system for how to use those funds, and that project, they chose not to go that route because, there are some strings attached to some of that money. And yeah, my region, we were able to kind of grab that, and we just approached Power County about helping at their landfill. And so we're actually we just signed an agreement with Power County that we're going to go help get them moving the needle a little bit on their old landfill. They have a transfer station, but there's some old legacy issues there, so we really wanted to get that money on the ground to help our communities. So
Do you still have ARPA funds available?
well, that was a crumb that we were just able to leverage that another way, but it's all been allocated at this point in time. And on the drinking water and wastewater system, to me it displayed the needs of our communities so much, because we had, I think, what was it, $500 million worth of project work get requested. And we had a certain amount of money, and I don't have the numbers fresh in my mind, but we had like 5 times as many projects come in as we had money to fund. And so our program office did a really good ranking to look at the communities, the income in the communities, the cost of their service, so like what do they pay for their sewer fees. So they had a ranking of all of those, and in our area we were able to support, I think, Preston, Grace, I'm trying to remember the other ones that got ARPA funds. So some of our small communities that have if you have a low, medium income and you have a high sewer rate, you are more likely to get, and it went to more small communities. There was a lot of concerns about like Ada County taking a lot of the ARPA funds, and it didn't happen that way. We supported our small rural communities where we felt the need was greater. So anyhow, that money's all been spoken for and is, there were some really strict timelines on that, so it's turning into real project work on the ground now. But it was amazing how many proposals we received, and weren't able to fund them all. So, anyways. But yeah, pretty much all that money's been allocated, and the only reason we were able to do that for Power County was because Fremont County chose not to move forward. So we were standing there in line like, we've got an idea, we've got a project ready to go. So that worked out really well.
Who submitted the projects? Was it the cities themselves or?
For the drinking water and wastewater, it would be the facility. So it would have been the wastewater treatment operators, like the usually municipality, usually the cities. And for the drinking water system, it would be the cities often, but there are a lot of community drinking water systems that needed assistance as well. And then on the remediation side, we facilitated like our remedial, like our folks, like put the call out for requests, but we had a list of all the projects already because those aren't, there's less of them, and then we're also very more intimately knowledgeable about those out there. So we were able to rank a lot of those projects right away. Yeah.
Jeff?
Nope,
anything else?
I've asked my questions, thanks.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Sure
we
appreciate it.
appreciate your time as well, and hope you have a lovely day. Hope it doesn't thunder and rain on us again today.
That was fun.